Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. My name's Jason. Thanks for checking out the channel today. Today we're looking at a pretty large power station. This is the Oupes 1100. Now Oupes was kind enough to send out the entire kit, the 1100 with two 100-watt folding solar panels, and I'm pretty excited to do some extensive testing on this. Now, if you remember, I did review the Oupes 600 in the past. Now that one had an excellent price per watt hour and it accepted dual charging, which was pretty sweet. So I'm looking forward to testing this one out. Now this power station does have lithium iron phosphate chemistry inside and it's rated at 2,500 life cycles. That means you can take it from 100% down to 0% 2,500 times and still have 80% of the capacity remaining. Now speaking of that capacity, it's rated at 992 watt hours. Now, one of the best benefits to this power station is the price per watt hour. Oupes provided a discount code for all my viewers, and you can get this for $680. Now, that is a crazy price for a 1,000 watt hour power station. Now, if you want to pick up the kit with the two 100-watt solar panels and the power station, with my discount code, you can get it for $975. But who cares how well it's priced if it doesn't perform, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do all the testing on this power station. We're gonna make sure it has a regulated DC output. Does it have a pure sine wave inverter? Does it support pass-through charging? And how much capacity do you actually get when you use it? Those are all answers you're gonna get in this video. Let's go ahead and jump into the front of the power station. One thing that I love about this is that everything is on the front. You have your DC outputs, your USB outputs, you have your charging input and your power button. And then on this side, you have all your AC outlets. Now the screen on this power station is one of the better things about it. You have your output watts and your input watts. It tells you at the bottom everything that's enabled. Now in the middle, you have a giant percentage of the battery. And one of the best things is it tells you how long it's gonna last at the current load. Now this power station does have two USB-C output ports. One is 60 watts and one is 18 watts. So I was able to charge up the Oupes 600 using the 60 watt output port, and I charged up my cell phone here using the 18 watt output. Now you also get two additional USB-A ports that support Quick Charge 3.0. Now this power station has three DC outputs. The first one is a 12 volt cigarette plug with a dust cover. And then you have two 5521 barrel connectors, and all these are rated at 10 amps max. Now it looks like the 12 volt socket is regulated at 12.7 volts. And we also get that same 12.7 volts when we plug into the barrel connectors. Now let's go ahead and test the DC output. I have my battery load tester plugged into the 12 volt socket. I have it set to 10 amps here. We're pulling around 125 watts. Let's go ahead and turn up this here to see when it'll actually shut off the DC output. Okay, so when I hit 12.5 amps on this meter, or about 160 watts, it will shut off the DC output. Now I also hooked up my battery load tester to the 5521 barrel ports, and I was able to pull 10 amps through those. Now I wouldn't recommend pulling 10 amps for a long duration of time. Those connections are usually rated for 3 to 5 amps continuous. For example, just having that plugged in for about a minute and a half at 10 amps, this connection is very warm. Now part of the testing I like to do on the DC output is just to make sure it stays on for a long period of time and it doesn't auto shut off. So I have my IceCo Go 20 12 volt compressor fridge plugged into the DC output, and it's actually been running for about 19 hours now without any issues. Now if you're looking to run a 12 volt compressor fridge for a long period of time, either while camping or during a power outage, this power station has a ton of capacity and will do a great job. Well, now that we've verified that it doesn't have any auto shutoff settings, that it has a regulated output, and that it can handle the max rating of 10 amps, let's go ahead and get it fully charged back up and do a DC capacity test. We're going to take the battery from 100% down to 0% using both of these battery load testers. Now I have both of them connected up in parallel and we're pulling a total of 140 watts. Now the max load for one of these is at 150 watts, so I'm sharing the load between both of these. Now the test started at the same time, so we'll be able to track the watt hour capacity on each one. So let's go ahead and take the battery down to 0% and see how many watt hours we can get. Okay guys, the battery hit 0% and the DC output just shut off. Let's go ahead and check the battery load testers to see how much power we pulled. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these up. We pulled a total of 397.93 watt hours and 395.85 watt hours. That is a total of 793.78 watt hours. Now, if you take that number and divide it by the total capacity of 992 watt hours, that gives us 80% of the advertised capacity. So if you take the battery from 100% down to 0%, you should expect somewhere around 793 watt hours. Okay, so we finished the DC output testing. Now before jumping into another section of testing, I want to remind you that at the end of this video, I will be putting this power station through my new grading system where I give it a grade of 1 to 10 based on how well it performed. So don't forget, check out the end of the video so you guys can see the actual score that this power station got and see how it stacks up to all the other competition. Let's jump back into the testing. Let's go ahead and take a second to talk about the AC inverter on this power station. Now you have 3 AC outlets on this far side. I have my voltmeter plugged in and we're getting 110 volts output. Now this is rated at 1000 watts continuous, 1100 watts for 3 minutes, and it has a peak or surge wattage of 1500 watts. Let's go ahead and see if it has a pure sine wave output. Now I changed my meter over to oscilloscope mode and you can see that we're getting a pure sine wave output sitting right at 59.9 hertz. Okay, so the first test we're going to do on the AC inverter is to see if it can handle a max load of 1000 watts for 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and plug that load in and see what happens. Okay guys, we're at the 1 minute mark. You can see it's taken a long time for the wattage to get up to 1000 watts. It's pretty interesting. We are sitting at 109 volts. Okay, so we just hit 5 minutes. You can see here 5 minutes 25 seconds, pulling around 982 watts. And I swapped over the meter to show that it's still putting out a pure sine wave. We'll go ahead and check in at the 10-minute mark. Okay, we just passed the 10-minute mark. We're sitting at 77%, still pulling 974 watts. And I swapped the meter back to a voltmeter. You can see we're still sitting at 109.9 volts AC. Okay guys, we just hit the 15-minute mark. That means we are able to successfully pull near 1000 watts for 15 minutes without any issues. Okay, so in the next inverter test, what I want to do is put a massive load on the inverter and make sure that it shuts off safely if we go over the 1500 watt peak. I have quite the load plugged in. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like we hit max load and the AC inverter shut off. Now this is exactly what we wanted to see. Wanted to make sure that if someone plugged in too big of a load, that nothing happened to the power station and it safely shut off. Okay, so now that we finished the load testing, let's go ahead and do a capacity test on the AC inverter. We need to charge it up to 100% and then we'll start that test. Now you can see the time lapse running in the background. I have a watt meter plugged in, tracking all the watt hours that we're pulling throughout the test. Now I am discharging this battery at a 0.2C discharge rate, which is right around 200 watts. Okay guys, the battery hit 0% and the inverter shut off. Let's go ahead and charge it up so I can turn the AC inverter back on to see how many watt hours we pulled. Okay, so the watt meter is showing that we pulled 810 watt hours. Now this has a rated capacity of 992 watt hours, so if we do the math, that's 81.6% of the rated capacity. So anytime you take this from 100% down to 0%, you should expect around 800 watt hours. Now, unfortunately, this isn't 85% efficient. It's a little bit less, and I have seen better efficiencies on other power stations. Now, this power station does support pass-through charging. I have a 200 watt AC heater plugged into the inverter here. I have a load going through the 12 volt cigarette plug, and I have a USB fan running on a USB port. And all that works while it's charging at the same time. Now there are multiple ways to charge up this power station. Let me go ahead and show you how each one works and how long it'll take to charge. Now by using the included 12 volt cigarette charging cable, you can see we're charging at 96 watts. Now this will take about 10 hours to fully charge up the power station. Now the fastest way to charge this up is by using the included wall adapter. You can see we're getting 180 watts input. That means you can charge this up all the way to 100% in about 5.5 hours. Now previously when I tested the Oupes 600, it actually supports USB-C charging input on the USB-C port. Let's go ahead and see if the bigger brother also supports USB-C charging. Unfortunately, it looks like it does not support USB-C input, so this bigger power station does not support dual charging. Now the last way to charge up this power station is by using solar panels. Now this does not come with any solar adapters in the box, so you have to make sure that your solar panels have an 8mm or 7909 barrel jack so you can plug it in. Let's go ahead and take this outside and do some solar testing. Now this came with two 100 watt solar panels that can connect together in parallel with an adapter. So I have them both plugged into the Oupes 1000. Let's see what we're getting. Okay, we're getting around 158 to 159 watts with both solar panels connected in. Now the solar conditions today are really good, just a teeny bit of haze. It's right around 50 degrees. Now it's the late part of winter, so the sun's pretty low in the sky, so this is the correct angle. Now I have tried to adjust it, and 160 watts is the max power I can get with the proper angle and them pointing directly at the sun. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab 2 of these 180 watt panels, hook them together in parallel, and then I'm going to plug them into the Oupes 1000. So we're just gonna over panel it and see what the max solar input is. Okay, so I've basically taken these 2 180 watt solar panels, connected them together in parallel, and plug them into the Oupes 1000 over there. Okay, so with both of those Bouge RV 180 watt solar panels plugged in, we're getting 161 watts input. Now this should be the maximum solar input that you see with most solar panels. Now if you had a solar panel that put out a little bit higher voltage, you'll probably see a little bit more wattage here, but we're definitely hitting some sort of amperage limit that keeps it from going any higher. So this demonstration here shows that you are able to over panel this power station, and that these 2 solar panels that come with the bundle, both of them being 100 watts, you do hit the actual max input on this power station. So if you wanted to save a little bit more money, you could purchase the bundle kit for this and get the maximum charging input. Now when you purchase the bundle with the solar panels, it comes with this parallel adapter. So you plug each solar panel in on that end, it hooks them together, and then you plug this end into the power station. It's super easy to connect them up. Now in summary, we saw a maximum of 160 watts charging input on this power station. So if you were able to hold that the entire time, it would take 6.2 hours to fill this up. Now that's a little bit long in my opinion. I always like to see a power station, especially a big one like this, charge in under 5 hours of solar. Okay guys, now that we've finished all the testing, let's go ahead and jump into grading this power station. Now I'll have the shared spreadsheet down in the video description so you guys can refer back to it. So let's go ahead and jump into the 10 categories. Okay, category 1, does this charge up in 4 hours or less? Unfortunately, it does not. It does not support dual charging input like the smaller Oupes 600. It takes 5.5 hours to fully charge this up. Number 2, does this support pass-through charging? Yes, you can use the output and charge the power station at the same time, so we're good there. Number 3, does this have a pure sine wave output? Yes, I tested with my oscilloscope and it does in fact have a pure sine wave output. Number 4, does it have a regulated DC output? Yes, it's regulated at 12.7 volts, so no issues running any 12 volt appliances. Category number 5, does this have an informational display? It shows the watts input, the watts output, the battery percentage, and estimated time remaining. This has an excellent screen, so no issues there. Number 6, does this have any auto shutoff settings, especially on the DC output? Through my thorough testing, I didn't see any issues with the output shutting off automatically, so no issues there. Now number 7 is about grading the USB-C output. So let's go ahead and take a look. Does it have a USB-C port? Yes, it does. Does it support 100 watts output? No, it doesn't. And does it have input and output capability? No, it doesn't. So it only scores 0.33 points out of a total 1 point available. Number 8, did this meet at least 85% of its rated capacity? Now this is rated at 992 watt hours, yet through our AC inverter test, we only were able to get 81.6% of that capacity, and also through the DC output, we scored a little worse at 80%. So unfortunately, we can't give it a point here because we didn't hit 85% of the rated capacity. Number 9, can this power station charge up in under 5 hours using just solar panels? Now this is important in case the power's out. You don't want to be waiting around all day to charge this up. So we saw an input of 161 watts max, and that takes 6.2 hours to fill up. So unfortunately, we can't give it a point here because it takes over 5 hours. Now number 10, the final grading point, is this priced at under 80 cents per watt hour? Now this power station is priced very well, comes in at 69 cents per watt hour, which is almost better than all the other power stations in my grading sheet. So if you're looking for a very good priced power station that still performs pretty decently, if you can get over just the slower charging and the fact that it doesn't support dual charging like the little brother, then it's not that bad of a power station. Now this graded a total of 6.33 points. So if you want to check out more details, check the video description for my power station grading spreadsheet so you guys can see everything about it. Now, what's a power station review if you don't talk about the build quality? So this entire power station is built of plastic on the outside. It looks like there's 2 halves of this really durable ABS plastic. When you move it around, there's nothing that moves around inside. It just feels really solid. You have 2 fan inlets and outlets on the side that keep the AC inverter cool. Now on the top of the power station, you have this huge ergonomic handle. Now I'm not a fan of these huge handles on top. I'd much rather have a flat power station with a folding handle so you could stack stuff on top. Now looking at the bottom, there are these orange rubber feet that kind of isolate the vibration that you get, when you're driving, and also just hold it in place. That this is just heavy enough at 24 pounds or 11 kilograms that the weight of it keeps it from moving around. Now on the back of the power station, there is an LED light. It has 3 different modes. You get a low mode, you get a high mode, and then of course you have an SOS mode. So just in case you have an emergency or need to light up an area when the power's out, it's nice to have that diffused LED light on the back. Now overall, I'm pretty happy with the build quality. So I want to take a second to talk about the solar panels that come with the kit. Now remember, you can pick up the power station by itself for $680 with the discount code in the video description. And by adding these 2 solar panels, you can pick it up for $976. Now that means you're getting each of these panels for around $150 each. And if you're familiar with how 100-watt portable panels are priced, you're usually paying $200 or more for one of these panels. So let's go ahead and jump into the features and show you how they work. Now looking at the front of the panel, you have the Oupes brand. You have a nice rubber handle to carry it by. These are really lightweight. And then there's actually 4 individual panels and 4 kickstands. So how the kickstands work, they're Velcroed down, and then they have this kind of stopper so it keeps them at the right angle. Now to put them away, you just kind of bend that in and then Velcro it back down. Now to open it up, there's this Velcro pad here. And then you get 4 individual panels that are all hooked together. Now looking at this solar panel, you can see right away that this is a PET coating. So it's a little bit less quality than you get with an ETFE solar panel. Now the only difference between those two is you get a little bit less light transfer through PET, and the PET breaks down a little bit faster. So you'll get about, 8 months to a year of direct sunlight to these panels before you'll start seeing fading or yellowing or cracking. And you'll get a little bit longer with ETFE. So if you're only going to be using these panels in a camping situation, you shouldn't have any issues. You could use it for years and years and years, but I'm just talking about direct sunlight, sitting in the sun day after day after day. You'll see some degradation to this after about 8 months. Now, like I said, there are 4 panels here. All the stitching, everything looks good here. I don't see any issues. Everything feels really solid. Now let's go ahead and show you the kickstands. Now each of these has a kickstand like I showed you before, but the 4th kickstand has kind of a quirk. Now if you open up the panel here, this is the pocket that holds all the wiring. You get the 4th kickstand right here. So you have to have the waterproof pocket open to get the 4th kickstand. So kind of a weird design there. I would have liked to see maybe like a half pocket here and have the kickstand on the outside, but it is what it is. I usually don't recommend that you have these out in the water anyway, but you definitely don't want water getting in this area here. Now this comes with a 10-foot wire that is 16 gauge, so it should be able to handle that 100-watt output without an issue at all. And they have 8mm connectors on them. So what's nice is if you purchase the kit, it comes with this parallel cable right out, so you don't have to buy anything. And they plug right in here, and then this side plugs into the power station. So you can hook 2 panels together using this adapter cable that comes with the kit. Now everything fits really nicely in here, and you just zip it closed. So my overall thoughts, they're really nice panels for $150. Very easy to carry around, very portable. They fold up really nicely. You just kind of go in half and then fold it again, and then you Velcro it closed. And there you go. These are the solar panels that come with this power station. Okay guys, we're gonna go and wrap up the video. I just wanna talk about the warranty really fast. So the warranty card here shows that this has a 2-year warranty, and the solar panels behind me have a 1-year warranty. Now there is an email that you can reach out to. I'll throw it on the screen here. I would have liked to see an oupes.com domain, but it looks like it's a 126.com. So that's where you'd reach out if you had any issues about warranty or support on the product. Now I haven't had any issues with this at all, and I'd hope that anybody that would purchase this would have that same experience. Now if you guys are able to get past the fact that it charges slow, you can pick this up at an amazing price, Don't forget there's a discount code in the video description. At $680, this is a great price for a lot of capacity. Now, the only downside was just the slow charging. Now, my grading system is based a lot on charging speed, so that's why I didn't get quite a good grade there. But, you know, if you can get by that, this would be a great power station for you. Now, if you're looking for your first power station and you don't want to spend a lot of money and you need something that has a 1,000-watt inverter, this would be a great option. This would do a great job running 12-volt compressor fridges because the DC output stayed on and I was able to run my fridge for quite a long time. Now, if you guys have any other questions, throw a comment down below. I've been pretty happy with this. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review video. If you have any other suggestions for my review videos, throw a comment down below. I'm always interested to see how I can improve these. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll see you guys in the next video.